Hello world and welcome to Podcast in A Minor, where I bring you the weird little songs I write, and I give you the stories behind them. Weird stories, funny stories, freaky stories, or whatever the world gives us in its glorious mystery. And now, for today's opening song. It's Frank Adamo, that darling of the Dick Van Dyke Show. He's a beat poet clutching a watermelon. Shall he stay or shall he go? Shall he stay or shall he go? He's Van Dyke standing on TV and a bye-bye birdie. He's sitting at the fireplace having a smoke and applauding Lord Petrie's dance in his background character trance. Frank Adamo lighting up the TV screen, haunting innocent college girl dreams back in the 90s. You're Frank freaking Adamo, man, you're a mystery, a flashing flare, a dashing icon of television history. If you're a classic TV lover, you'll never find another as flagrant as Frank Adamo, as fragrant as Frank Adamo, as flavorful as Frank Adamo, as Frank Adamo. Hello world and welcome to Podcast in A Minor. I'm Amy Zollers McAnally, a poet and an artist, and I'm in one of my moods. You just heard, hey, it's that guy, Frank Adamo, on the Taylor, the Gemini Mini, the acoustic guitar, the favorite handy child. And who is Frank Adamo, you might ask? Well, let's get it from Steve Conley on Facebook. Frank Adamo was the background character who was in 50 episodes of The Dick Van Dyke Show. Took me a while to find out who he was. Frank died in 2018. Few knew he was Dick Van Dyke's personal assistant, not an actor. He appeared in many episodes of The Dick Van Dyke Show because of his friendship with the star, I think there's a missing word there, filling the roles of extras and other characters. Thank you, Steve Conley on Facebook, but perhaps you're a youngster, for back in the days before streaming services brought us our TV, there was Nick at Night on cable. Nickelodeon was a childhood favorite network with shows like You Can't Do That on Television, my first experience with Canadian accents, and Turkey TV. I think that's where we all heard fish heads, roly-poly fish heads, eat them up, yum. And we knew who Frank Adamo was. But first, a little background on how. Nickelodeon, yes, and then there was Nick at Night. Nickelodeon's evening programming filled with TV shows from the 1950s and 60s, like The Donna Reed Show, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, 77 Sunset Strip, and Car 54 Where Are You? As a kid, I remember summer vacations, usually on Wednesday nights after helping with the little kids at church. My sister and I would come home and make ourselves a bed on the living room carpet using foam rubber mattresses my grandpa had given us when, a widower, he married a gal he'd loved in his school days, who was also widowed. And she redid his eclectic home decor unchanged since perhaps 1958. Well, they were twin mattresses, just long cushions really, that fitted into a couple of sleek dark wood frame day beds at my grandpa's house. Later, I learned that these day beds had been my grandparents' beds, their actual beds for nightly sleep. I just thought those day beds were a couple of couches in a sitting room of some sort. I think my granddad was sleeping in one of the grown kids' bedrooms, springy mattress beds for, what we're typically used to back then, by the time I came along. And hey, to tie it all back, they moved into that house in 1958, probably using those foam mattresses shortly after watching The Donna Reed Show and The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Point is, Nick at Night. My sister and I were constructing a cozy bed and carefully arranging our junk foods in advance as we planned to stay up just as late as we were able watching Nick at Night. Being more of a morning person, I usually made it to or woke up in the middle of 77 Sunset Strip, which came on around 11 p.m. Central. What was that, a surfer/detective show? Oh, let's say it was, starring Ed Kooky Burns and Connie Stevens et al. I'm surprised I didn't make a point of watching it more closely, but come to think of it, those little slumber parties would have predated my obsession with that video cassette of American Bandstand highlights I got when I was 11 or 12, featuring Kooky Kooky Lend Me Your Comb by Ed Burns and Connie Stevens. Check it out. But back to Nick at Night, just quick. I requested the refrigerator magnet through the mail in high school or college, the one with the Nick at Night summer block party schedule, Merry Mondays, Lucy Tuesdays, Bewitched Be Wednesdays, Jeannie Thursdays, and Sergeant Joe Fridays. That's the Mary Tyler Moore Show, I Love Lucy, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, and Dragnet. It seems like they changed the lineup a little from year to year, possibly with Van Dyke Fridays, but Sergeant Joe Fridays was pretty ingenious, and it would have been hard to let go. It was probably Van Dyke Thursdays, come to think of it. And I certainly regret never ordering that Donna Reed wristwatch from Nick at Night back in high school. I think of it to this day. I just never got around to it. I was sure it would always be there. Alas, it came and went. I was young and foolhardy. But to Steve Conley on Facebook, I say, I knew Frank Adamo was Dick Van Dyke's personal assistant and stand-in on The Dick Van Dyke Show and Bye Bye Birdie because Nick at Night told us. Nick at Night was magnificent for his bumpers and funny little promotional bits in between commercials and shows. For example, while we're on The Dick Van Dyke Show, they added words to the theme song, and my college roommate and I knew it by heart. Dick Van Dyke was Robert Petrie, who comes home, hugs Laura, and accidentally trips over that thing. But sometimes he doesn't do that. He sees it, the ottoman, and instead he skirts it with a nifty step. And there's yet another version. He clears it, the ottoman, but ironically he stumbles on the rug. After that, Rob and Sally and Buddy shake hands, and the episode title comes up, obscuring Richie. And notice Rob shakes hands with Buddy again. Do-do-do-do-do. That's it. So yes, we knew it. We sang it. We were pretty pleased with ourselves and with Nick at Night for giving it to us. In addition to that work of genius, Nick at Night gave us a promo honoring Frank Adamo, Dick Van Dyke's stand-in and personal assistant, as stated, and an actor who appeared on the show. Was that 50 times, you say, Steve Conley? I was confident that I could find that Frank Adamo tribute on YouTube, but so far I can't. But I saw it plenty of times in the 90s, and it gave us the information we needed to know, that a compelling face with sharp cheekbones and exotic eyes on the Dick Van Dyke Show had a name, and that name was Frank Adamo. We learned that Frank had been Dick Van Dyke's assistant and stand-in, and that he showed up frequently on the show in crowds as a waiter, as a wisecracking dry-cleaning delivery boy, a singing telegraph singer, and his crowning moment as a beat poet cradling a watermelon at a poetry reading where Laura Petrie finds herself a fish out of water. Frank Adamo as beat poet. I'm pretty sure he's wearing sweats and a goatee, and he recites, up, down, yes, no, shall I stay or shall I go? Hey, remember this one?
Bluebird, morning star, hello, shall I stay or shall I go? Third Sunday poetry, a slap for you and a slap for me. Up, down, yes, no, grab your poetry hat, let's go. Grab your poetry hat, let's go.
But yes, that is where I got those lines, woven through my very being at a tender age, and tied it in with poetry for the old Third Sunday Poetry promo jingle. Now, let's take a look at the lyrics of Hey, It's That Guy, Frank Adamo. It's Frank Adamo, that darling of the Dick Van Dyke Show. He's a beat poet clutching a watermelon. Shall he stay or shall he go? Shall he stay or shall he go? He's Van Dyke's stand-in on TV in Bye Bye Birdie. He's sitting at the fireplace having a smoke and applauding Laura Petrie's dance in his background character trance. Frank Adamo, lighting up that TV screen, haunting innocent college girl dreams back in the 90s. You're Frank freaking Adamo. Oh man, you're a mystery. A flashing flare, a dashing icon of television history. If you're a classic TV lover, you'll never find another as flagrant as Frank Adamo, as fragrant as Frank Adamo, as flavorful as Frank Adamo, as Frank Adamo. Yes. The end. A brief word on the title, Hey, It's That Guy. That guy is Max Perlich. Perlich? Perlich. This has nothing to do with Frank Adamo. It's what we said, my sister and I, in our youth, when we spotted Max Perlich in a movie, such as Gleaming the Cube or Can't Buy Me Love. Hey, it's that guy. He showed up in everything. I believe Sassy Magazine called him that guy who shows up in everything. Or maybe it was another guy, but I think it was Max Perlich. Well, it could apply to Frank Adamo, a familiar side character face in 50 or 70 episodes of The Dick Van Dyke Show. Here's some more Dick Van Dyke Show Frank Adamo love on Facebook from David Van Dusen. Frank appeared in 70 episodes of The Dick Van Dyke Show, along with the other appearances mentioned here. He was also in Mary Poppins, Lieutenant Robin Caruso, and Fitzwilly. Oh, that one's unfamiliar to me. The last two. And then, oh my goodness, this. Okay, how am I going to hold it up so you can see it? Celebrating National Poetry Day. That's Frank Adamo giving the singing telegram to Dick Van Dyke. And the caption on Facebook, we celebrate National Poetry Day with New Rochelle's favorite singing telegram man, played by Frank Adamo. Can anyone reading this recite the telegram man's verse from memory? And that's from Vince Waldron. There is a lot of good Dick Van Dyke Show love on Facebook. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Hooray, Frank Adamo plus poetry. The Singing Telegram, Punch Thy Neighbor, Season 1, Episode 18, apparently, is what I found. And the Beat Poet. I swiped 2 lines from Frank's poem as Beat Poet for an old poetry promo. And I stole the tune for today's opening song from one of my alternate poetry promos for this song about Frank Adamo. And thanks to the Dick Van Dyke Show fans on Facebook, here are the words to that singing telegram, courtesy of Douglas DeMarco. Robert Petrie wrote a show supposed to be funny. Ho, ho, ho. Look how far this man has gotten, writing shows that are really rotten. Signed, The Phantom Neighbor. P.S. I'm only kidding. Ooh, I wish I'd had time to watch it. This was really on the fly. But I don't know the tune. But maybe that will be my goal for later. And let me call out one other non-Dick Van Dyke Show Nick at Night promo. Watch the Brady Bunch on Nick at Night, or Alice will kill you. That one I did find a link to, so see the show notes. I misremembered it, actually. It's more like the Brady kids are responsible and well-mannered and always do their chores because they know if they don't, Alice will kill them. Cut to Jan, Greg, and Peter saying in between the narration, Alice will kill ya, Alice will kill ya. And ending with Alice, I'm gonna kill him, in her Alice way. It's not very terrifying, but love Alice. I'm pretty fresh from watching my yearly viewing of A Very Brady Christmas, and she is near and dear in my heart. So these are the treasures of my youth. In fact, I used to tell myself, I just need to go work at Nick at Night. If this college mess doesn't turn out, I'll go work at Nick at Night, writing funny little songs and promos, creating concepts for classic TV-themed kitchen accessories and watches. Well, it certainly kept me calm during finals. But I would have had to move to California. Frank Adamo, as the opening song notes, is a mystery, something of a mystery. It's not easy to find out a lot about him, and it seems he wanted it that way. I'd like to thank the internet of 5 or 10 years ago, when you could search a television episode like so: Dick Van Dyke, Frank Adamo, Beat Poet, or Dick Van Dyke, Laura attends poetry show, and get right up front something like Season 3, Episode 10, Up, Down, Yes, No. That's hypothetical. I don't know the actual episode. Whereas now, nothing on that search. And if you do find anything, the season and episode number are like buried or entirely absent. Do you call that progress? I blame TikTok for no particular reason. Sensation, distraction from what matters. Like this Beat Poet episode. But I did find an episode of a podcast called Tripping Over the Ottoman about the Dick Van Dyke Show. And there is a recent January 14th Frank Adamo tribute episode. I haven't listened to it yet. I found it late last night. This episode is very on the fly, crammed in of an unexpected snow day. Well, the storm was greatly anticipated, but because it fell on the weekend and today was meant to be a professional development day, staff only, I wasn't confident that it would be called off for bad road conditions and extreme cold. Well, hush my mouth. Oh, it's been really nice. Found out yesterday afternoon, which was Sunday, today being Monday, and it's also very early. It's like 7:30 in the morning. And also got up earlier than this to record the song. But found out yesterday, school was called off, watched a bunch of corner gas, made a pie. My husband built this roaring fire in the fireplace that lasted and lasted. It was beautiful. So I'm grateful for this snow day. Hear my gratitude, universe. And I did download the episode of Tripping Over the Ottoman and have big plans to relish those Frank Adamo interview clips. Frank! Thank you, Tripping. Can I call you Tripping? In a last-ditch effort to locate the prized Beat Poet episode featuring Mr. Adamo, I searched Dick Van Dyke Show Frank Adamo under Images, but no luck. It really does exist, you know. I'll never forget it. I can't believe I don't remember the title, like I remember the spooky ones, Ghost of a Chance, Long Night's Journey into Day, It May Look Like a Walnut. Once in college, a suitor gave me a Dick Van Dyke Show book. Where is it now? Too many years under the bridge, too many moves. I also had the box set on DVD. Did I sell that? It seems impossible. But we moved 3 times since my first mother-in-law gave it to me. And maybe one day we were broke, or I was mad at her. Hey, we all have our problems. Sometimes I was simply mad at her because I missed my own mother who had died. Yeah, I'm a head case. Your favorite head case. Wasn't it delicious? Frank Adamo. Frank freaking Adamo. I hope my college roommate is listening. What devotees we were. And you can certainly understand why. Go ahead. Leave your mark in any big or small way. Somebody somewhere will never forget you. Thank you for listening. See you next time.
It's Poetry Live on the 16th of January. All poetry speaks to poetry freaks, so man, you ready? That's live poetry. Sunday, January 16th, 2 p.m. Central Time at Hipness&Outrage. See you there. You gonna interfere? It's Poetry Live on the 16th of January. All poetry speaks to poetry. Find box. Uh-oh. Must I, the Encyclopedia Neurotica. It's my role in the play, and I must, and I